And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kyle the Pug Sports Review Show, episode number 22. That is right, we are on this 22nd episode of the Kyle the Pug Sports Review Show. And oh my god, 2 shows in 1 week. Oh my god, the hell is frozen over, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god! Okay, enough of that though. Anyways, I'm Kyle the Pug, aka Kyle Lodi. We're going to bring you today the hottest 3 sports topics for today's show. And it's going to be a grand doozy because we got a lot of topics here to talk about today. Huge topics, too, for that matter. So, before we talk about our topics today, let me bring Cowboy Nick into the conversation. Say hi, buddy.
I gotta say Cowboy Nick. Cowboy Nick! How y'all doing, folks? I know we're all talking about how we're going to do great. Oh, look, there's a great big eagle out there who's my partner now, and we're going to have a great time.
Alrighty then. So for today's topics, we are going to be talking about the Jets and the Bills game. We're going to recap that, and we're also going to bring our Week 2 predictions rapid fire. Since it is the football season, we got to do some rapid fire picks here for this review show on every single Friday. But as of right now, we're going to stick let's start with baseball really quick. And you said you were in a good mood, Cowboy, but not until I say this. The Chicago Cubs have clinched the NL Central title for the first time since 2008 with the Cardinals' loss last night. So Wrigley Field basically was dark and empty when a loud cheer reverberated throughout the whole neighborhood surrounding the iconic ballpark. While the Chicago Cubs decided to delay their party Thursday night, their long, downtrodden fans were ready to celebrate. Chicago wasted its first chance to clinch the NL Central title, but became the first major league team this season to clinch a division crown when St. Louis lost 6-2 at San Francisco. And even though the Cubs lost 5-4 to the Milwaukee Brewers earlier Thursday night, they still captured their first NL Central crown since 2008, as I said, when the Giants finished off the victory over the Cardinals. So you have a little change of mood now, Cowboy?
Never. Even when I die, when I die, I want to be buried, bending over, and I'm gonna say on my ass, it's gonna say, I took, when I was alive, every shit I took for the Cubs.
Okay, that's just kind of messed up there if you ask me, but
I can't stand that team. I will never stand that team. I will teach my grandchildren and my children to punch
Okay, that's even more messed up if you try to teach your children and grandchildren that. I mean, come on, don't be violent. Violence is never the answer, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do what Cowboy Nick does. But anyways,
and honestly, I think what's going to happen is Cubs are going to go in the playoffs, and then when they have to play a team like and I'm looking forward to this. When they have to play a team like the Sox, they're going to get their butt kicked.
Well, that's if they ever make it to the World Series, that is. So Wrigley was quiet when Matt Adams made the final out on the West Coast. However, it touched off with a celebration of Chicago that including honking horns and chanting in the streets. And late at night, the Cubs' famous marquee lit up with a message that said, and it said this, and I quote, 2016 NL Central Champions, #Fly the W. Led by a stellar pitching staff and MVP contenders Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, Chicago got off to a sizzling 25-6 start. After stumbling into the All-Star break, the Cubs pulled away with a 22-6 August record that turned the NL Central race into a mere formality. And basically, this is what Joe Madden said about the whole thing, and I quote, "This is just the first step. I mean, we have much larger baseball fish to fry here on our skillet, and we just got to keep going," unquote. So the Cubs will likely to be entering the 2016 postseason as the heavy favorites. According to the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook, they are 9-4 favorites to win the World Series. So you want to chime in on the conversation a little bit more?
Well, they still have a lot of teams, even if they go into the World Series, they still have a lot of teams to face. We have, like, if you look at it right now, you you have teams that they can possibly be a threat to them. You have teams in that I look at, and it's not just teams that people think of. It's those teams you have that I think that it could be a possible game changer for them, like the Nationals, even I have to say that even the Indians could be one of those, and teams like I look at the Orioles and all that, and you have to think to yourself, what if they have to face the Orioles? The Orioles or the Red Sox are one of those teams you can't underestimate them. Why? Because they're just as good as anyone else. And when you look at this from the standing point of view, right now everyone is going to say this. They look at this, and you look at a team like Boston, Toronto, and Baltimore. You can't underestimate those teams because they could be teams that could possibly break the Cubs all the way, and if they ever have that chance, I hope they do. But when you also look at you look at the Cubs and you look at the Central Division, you have teams that are in they clinched it. You have teams that St. Louis could possibly get back into this and clinch it. You also have teams like your Los Angeles Dodgers and San Francisco. So the Buffalo could be one of those teams that could be a challenge for the Cubs. If you look at that, St. Louis may not have been the top team this year, but they still have a chance.
All right, well, I'm going to get to a couple of stats here really quick where the Cubs were. This is actually what their postseason roles were back, a few years back, going to 2003, 07, and 2008 here really quick. So the Cubs as NL Central champions. So this is what we're going to deal with here really quick. So 2003, right? They won the Central Championship, NL Central title, 88 wins. And they lost in the NLCS, and you remember the 2003 NLCS championship, right? With, of course, the fan, everything was, the controversy behind that, and everything just kind of went apart from there. And then 2007, they got swept in the NLDS. After 85 wins in the regular season, they were 0-3. They got swept. 2008, 97 wins. They also got swept in the NLDS. They were 0-3. I believe they lost to the Dodgers, in 2008. And now here we are in 2016, 93-plus wins, maybe a little more. We don't know yet. And the postseason result, it's still yet to be seen right now. So, that being said, how do you see this team performing in the postseason as the number one seed?
Well, they may be the number one seed, but I think that in the postseason, there's a lot of other teams out there that could give them, that could be problems. I have to say this: the Dodgers are tricky. Those tricky teams that you can't underestimate. People say, the Dodgers and all that stuff. You can't underestimate that team for one simple fact: the Dodgers are tricky. They know how to use their pitching staff. They know how to use their offense and defensive position. And you have to think about that. San Francisco is. You have to think of
course, you got San Francisco with the whole even year BS that they are so grinding upon.
Yeah, and then I'm still going to say that you still have St. Louis is one of those teams that does in the postseason does come back, and then in the East they have to worry about teams like the Nationals, and you have to worry about the one team who did it last year, and you have to worry about the Mets.
All right, so the off-season additions of Ben Zobrist and Jason Hayward, somebody you're very familiar with, only added to the anticipation for the Cubs' loyal fan base, and they have delivered up until this point. But many of those same fans were also around for the last division title when the 2008 Cubs, as I mentioned before, won 97 games. And then I also mentioned this, then they were swept by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the division series. And basically what Theo Epstein said about all this, and I quote, "There's no team I'd rather be going into October with, but there were never favorites in October the same way there are in the regular season," unquote. And he also mentioned that we've got a lot ahead of us, and we really do. It kind of all boils down to how you perform in October, unquote. So your thoughts on those quotes?
But like I said, you can't say, like people were saying that they said it about the Cardinals, they said it about many teams. You can't, just because they have lower scores, you can't underestimate teams
You mean lower
right?
records than them?
You can't because, like, okay, what if they do go in the playoffs and let's say Chicago, still people are like, oh yeah, Chicago this, Chicago that, but like think about this. What if they go into the playoffs and you have teams like, let's say they play against San Francisco. You have to look at this. San Francisco has certain players who we all know, just because they don't always hit those home runs, they can get the long ball, and they've done it. And you have to think about that.
All right, well, that's not the only point with San Francisco. As much as it pains for me to say it, they have playoff chemistry also.
Oh yeah, look at their coach. You can't just say, oh, look at their coach. You have to admit this with both the Dodgers and San Francisco. Look who their coaches are. Same with St. Louis, and you have to say with the Mets and the Nationals. Look at their coaches. Look at the discipline their coaches bring to their team, and you know this, Kyle.
Well, I didn't say I didn't know it, obviously, but anyways, that's enough of baseball for right now. So we are going to be moving on really quick. So we're going to move on here to, of course, what happened with the Jets and the Bills. And the Jets, the quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, solves Rex Ryan's puzzle with a Namath-esque like performance. So basically, he was criticized for having a noodle arm, stare down his nemesis, Big Bad Rex Ryan, and blew holes in Rex Ryan's beloved defense, delivering the best long passing day of his long career on Thursday night. With the performance evoked images of the old AFL days, Fitzpatrick passed for 374 yards and 1 touchdown, lifting the New York Jets to a 37-31 victory over the Buffalo Bills at New Era Field. It's not an exaggeration to say to save their season, and an 0-2 start would have been crippling for the Jets, who now begin a brutal 4-game stretch. This was a statement game for Fitzpatrick, who imploded on this field last January 3 in what he called the most disappointing loss of his career. His fourth quarter meltdown, which cost him a playoff spot, haunted him throughout the offseason. During the run-up to this game, he was bombarded with questions about his history of futility against Ryan's coach defenses. With a 1-8 record, you have to wonder if there was a little Rex in his giant brain taunting the Harvard grad. So, do you think this is a pretty good way to get a chip off your shoulder, Nick? Or give us your thoughts on the entire game.
All right. You know, what I think about this game is the Giants came in, like do it again. The Jets came in wanting to win, but I have to say this quote. That Uncle Larry gave me last night. The Bills did one good thing. I'm going to say they did one good thing. When a certain player from the Bills took the ball and got that one touchdown that kind of helped them out a little bit. But I will say this, that the Jets came in and they did their homework, and you have to know this. When you look at Ryan, with this little, like, he doesn't necessarily throw the long ball like this, but when you look at those little passes he does, and the way he uses his rushing yards and receiving yards, he's a monster.
Well, yeah, there's no question about that. But if we go back to the Jets here really quick, for a change, Fitzpatrick was one step ahead of Ryan finding the right matchups. When the Bills adjusted their coverage, Fitzpatrick started going for Decker and Marshall, who returned after a knee injury that for a few minutes that appeared serious. Fitzpatrick had all the answers, and he had a lot of help for Matt Forte, who rushed for 100 yards and tied a career high with 3 rushing touchdowns. And this is what Fitzpatrick said about this, and I quote, "Going to the game, I just wanted to think less. I think that it helped me out a little. Think less, don't try to be perfect, don't try to, antagonize the situation or everything he tries to do. Just play your game," unquote. And your thoughts on that would be?
And you know what? That works. When you go out in the field, you don't think as much as you can. You don't think like, if you go out, this is like basically when I was in high school was said. If you think that you're going to win, you're going to lose. But if you just go out there and play, you're going to win. Because a lot of times you see these quarterbacks, we're going to win this, and then they go out and they're like, they keep crying and everything, and they lose. See, when you're playing the game, you just play the game. You don't have to think too much. It's not like a business team where you got to think about this order goes here, this order goes here. You have to use what you have. But I was kind of proud of the Bills for what they did to get that one touchdown how a certain person, and we all know who he is, took the ball and ran and just did happy feet into the end zone.
All right, so remarkably, and here's another stat from last night's game too. Fitzpatrick was 14 for 15 on throws between 10 and 30 yards. That's pretty impressive, though. And the Jets can actually exhale about this too. So an early season crisis has basically been averted, for the longest time. And you got to give them credit too. They returned to this haunted house, lost their poise on 3 long touchdown plays, including another Darrelle Revis torching. But they refused to stay down, obviously, as you can show with the final score here. They showed mental toughness, and they rallied from a 24-20 deficit by scoring 17 unanswered points. The offense never lost its aggressiveness, and the defense came up with some clutch plays late in the game. And Coach Todd Bowles said this, and I quote, "By no means are we perfect, but from a fighting standpoint, I think we were outstanding," unquote. Your thoughts on that, Mr. Lockmiller?
Well, I think that is perfectly right. Like I said, the Jets just wanted to get that. They wanted to get that. They wanted to get that. So they wanted to get that win, and they wanted to come back. But the one thing I will say is in this, the Jets do need to build up more. They need to get more of those wins because I will say this: in the state of New York, when you look at this, the Bills are a team that everyone knows is not the best of teams. But when you look at their arch, when you look at the one team that everyone knows this, they are the team that scares you. They are the team that everyone will tell you in New York you will look out for. And that team is in fact a team that everyone knows.
Of all the 3 teams in New York.
Well, you look at it. What 3 teams in that area? You look at the 3 teams in that area. What team scares everyone the most? And that's a team called the Giants.
All right, so basically the Jets, going back to the other New York team, they snapped a 5-game losing streak to the Bills, including 2 straight to their former coach. And Fitzpatrick snapped what seemed to be an O for forever against the diabolical defensive mastermind. But this time, he got the best of Ryan and his vaunted secondary. And here's what Brandon Marshall said about this after the game, and I quote, "I'm happy for him because a guy like that usually doesn't get these opportunities late in his career, a journeyman. He deserves it. The game owes him. He put in the work, and it's time to reap the harvest," unquote. So your thoughts on that quote from Brandon Marshall?
I agree with that. I do agree with that because when you look at Ryan, he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys who, even on the play that he has, he looks, he tries to find, and he looks for that opportunity because even on the play, if you have the opportunity as a quarterback, you know you're going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get and that's what a lot of players say. Why is even with Tom Brady or some other of these quarterbacks that a lot of people are falling in love with, they don't just throw the ball. They look for okay, if I give it to him, and there's a little hole right there. If I give it to him, how many yards can he get? And you saw that last night with the Jets because
with Matt Forte especially.
And the Bills, so everyone knows that there's not much to miss. But when you look at with the Jets, you look at this and they just look and they find and they just came in, and that's what it's not necessarily who holds the ball. It's about looking. So if you're going to win, another reason why they won the game, they looked for those opportunities, they took it, and guess what? They got the win.
And as I said before, Matt Forte, I believe, I would say he was like the guy who carried the team on his back, along with helping out Ryan Fitzpatrick beat out Rex Ryan. I mean, when you look at Matt Forte, you look at him as this exceptional all-around running back who can rush with the football, and he can be a wide receiver running back. He can play in the passing game. I mean, he's just got all these tricks of the trade that defenses need to watch out for. And it's this little example actually showed you from last night too.
Okay. I gotta say this too. When you look at Matt Forte, you look at a guy who I give him. I have said this in the past. I have given him the nickname. He is basically the little shark. He's one of those guys that if he looks for his prey, he uses what opportunities he has, and if he can go for it, he will basically, just like a shark does, he will take that opportunity and use it for to take his prey. And last night you saw that. Not only did he use the opportunity to get the yards, but he found the opportunity to get the touchdown. And another thing with Forte, when you look at this, Forte also is basically, I love to call him the Willy Wonka of the NFL, because he's one of those guys that he believes that not necessarily he's like, getting people to help him. He believes in the chance, he believes in the moment where he believes in the moment that he can have magic, and he takes that magic and turns it into basically his chocolate, and he finds the yard, and not necessarily with getting touchdowns. He is one of those guys that if you need him to use the clock and get what he needs, he will use it. And that's and I tell people all the time, it's not necessarily you can use your halfback to get the touchdown. You can use them with the clock, and there's a guy who, if you're in the fourth, that can get the clock where you want it.
All right, so moving on here really quick to our final topic. We're going to get our Week 2 picks here underway for, of course, the NFL football season. We're going to be probably doing this every Friday until the football season ends. So, rapid-fire picks, so here we go. So, first matchup, we got Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. So, for my pick, I'm going to probably have to say Pittsburgh at home, and I would say it's going to be a close one. I would say 21-17 Pittsburgh. Maybe 24-20. Who knows? But that's probably around that ballpark.
And for me, I'm going to go with the Steelers as well. And I'm going to say this. It's going to be a close game. And I think that what it is with the Steelers is their defensive game and the way they use their halfbacks. And I think that the Bengals are not going to be prepared to go into Heinz Field and get past that defensive game that the Steelers have.
Okay, Tennessee and Detroit. So my first pick, I would have to say the Detroit Lions are going to crush the Titans, no question here, because the way the game on the road against Indianapolis definitely motivated them to do well at home. So what are the chances that Tennessee's not going to do anything? They're not going to do. They're not going to do anything to, especially in the passing game either, with their sensational quarterback that they got now. So that being said, I'm taking a little too long here. So I would say 30-10.
I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to go, and I've been thinking about this for a long, all week. I'm going to go with the Lions as well, but I'm going to say this. The Lions are going to win this, 35-3, because I think the Lions are going to be a tough team, but I have seen that the Titans do have a pretty good special team, and they do have a pretty good kicking team. So when you look at that, it's going to be at least 3-35. Kyle?
Okay, well, interesting pick there. All right, so we have the Ravens and the Browns. And for my pick, Ravens, the new Cleveland Browns. Not the new Cleveland Browns, but the old Cleveland Browns are going to be the new Cleveland Browns. They're going to destroy them. I would say 24-6.
Now, for me, I'm also going with the Ravens, and I'm going to say it's going to be. I'm going to say it's going to be 30 to at least 20, because I know that the Ravens do have a good defense, but you can't deny that the Browns' running game is getting better.
Maybe a little, not too much, I would say. But moving on to the next game, we have the Cowboys going into Washington to play the Redskins. Now, for my pick, this game's going to be a little closer than most people think, but I'm going to take the Redskins at home. My score would be, I would say around like 20-18 or 19. Actually, that was last week's score. Anyway, yeah, I'll do that. Like 20-17, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Now for me, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys in this one. But I'm gonna say this: it's going to be Redskins. I'm gonna say Redskins 16, and I'm gonna say Cowboys. And this pays me to do this. It does pay me to do this to the Redskins, but I'm gonna add to the Hawks. I'm gonna say Cowboys 25.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with some asinine number, but I guess that's respectable too. So moving on, New Orleans and the New York Giants, football Giants, that is. So that being said, I'll get to you my pick here right now, and I would say the Giants. Yeah, no, I think the Giants after their win against Dallas, they got some momentum going back to New York. So I would say 27-24 New York. It'll be close though too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree on the same score, but the one thing that I have to say with the Giants is I'm really this year I'm kind of scared of the Giants because after what they did in that last preseason game with the Patriots, I have to say this.
So
the Giants.
I was gonna say your pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Giants, but I'm worried about this. The Giants have educated themselves, and I'm really worried this year that the Giants are going to be that team that a lot of people are going to say they have become more educated. Kyle?
Okay, so basically you're going with the Giants here. So moving on, okay, we got to speed this up really quick. San Francisco, Carolina, I will say Carolina at home.
I'm going to go with Carolina as well, not just for the fact that I don't like the 49ers, but I have to say this, the Panthers are that team that a lot of people don't respect, but I would say this. After what even though they lost, after what we've seen with them, I'm going to say that the Panthers are going to win this. But it's going to
taking it a little too long, Cowboy.
I'm going to say it's going to be Panthers 14. I'm going to say Panthers 16, Niners 3.
The Dolphins and the Patriots. I would say Patriots in a close game by a touchdown.
I'm going to say Patriots also in a close game with a field goal.
Okay. It's Chiefs and the Texans. I would say here the Chiefs on the road. I think they'll win by a field goal.
I agree with you on that. I'm going to have to go with the same thing with you because I know the Texans are tough, but I cannot underestimate the Chiefs. Kyle?
Okay, so we have the Seahawks going into LA to play the Rams, and this is probably going to be an upset pick here and right now. I'm going to say the Rams are going to recover from last week's Monday Night Football loss to the 49ers. I think they'll be motivated, and they always play the Seahawks tough too, so I see them winning by a field goal.
I see this going a little bit larger than you think. I'm going to go with the Rams. But it's not going to be a field goal. I think they're going to win by a touchdown, and I think it's going to come down to 20-16. Kyle?
Okay, Tampa Bay at Arizona. So for my first pick, I would have to say this is going to be closer than most people think too. I'm going to say the Buccaneers by 4 points.
I agree. I'm going to have to go with the same pick as you because I think at home the Cardinals are going to be way motivated. The Buccaneers are still tough, but I just see the Cardinals with that motivation, and we all know what I'm talking about last year. So,
okay, so Jacksonville and San Diego, and my pick here. I mean, this is going to be a little unpredictable right here. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars won on the road, but I'm going to have to go with the Chargers at home by a touchdown because it's going to be a shootout here for sure. Because both defenses are awful.
But I think that the Chargers are going to win this game. But it's going to be one of those games where the Chargers are going to play their little game. And I'm going to say that this game's going to come down to a field goal.
Okay, in the high-scoring affair. So Atlanta Falcons and the Oakland Raiders. Definitely got to go with the Raiders at home here by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yes, and I'm going with the Raiders too on this one, but not only by their game, but they're going to be in the Coliseum, so you're going to have those fans who are kind of crazy. And I'm also going to say this: the Falcons they're not the Falcons from 1997 to 2000. They've lost their game, and I think that especially when the Raiders are at home, they're one of the toughest teams you can ever imagine.
Okay, so Indianapolis at the Denver Broncos, and I'm going to say the Broncos' defense is, well, they're gonna give him Andrew Luck some trouble, but I think some of the offense will probably prevail for. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts won, but I say Denver wins by 2 points.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it's gonna be the Broncos, but I think that the Broncos are gonna win this by a field goal because I think that the Broncos are gonna be one of those teams that you can't. They trick you. They're one of those teams that you think they're bad, and they come back and you're like, oh crud, because they just trick you. And I think that this team is gonna. And I don't kind of trust Russ. He's a good quarterback, but I just don't trust him. Especially when you're at home, when you're in Denver, the altitude and everything, you're going to be like one of those guys who are like, what? So.
All right, so Green Bay at Minnesota. We got to speed this up really quick. So I'm going to say Green Bay by at least 17 points.
I'm going to say Green Boy.
Green Boy? Green Boy? All right, well, we got to speed this up. Come on.
That's why I did that. I'm going to say Green Bay. I'm going to say Green Bay wins this one 30-3.
All right, so then Monday Night Football, we have the Eagles and the Bears.
I'm going to go with the Bears, and this is not just because I want to give them a chance to beat the Eagles. I'm going with the Bears in honor of my Uncle Wade, who's a big Bears fan, and I'm going to say this. When the Bears are at home, they are a pretty good team, so I'm going to say the Bears by 2.
I'll say the Bears by a touchdown. So just it'll be close though, but I think the Bears will probably hold off like the Eagles on the last second play. But anyways, guys, that'll do it for today's show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys did enjoy today's show, please drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to my channel. It definitely helps my channel grow. And on this channel, we are on the road to 50 subscribers, maybe 100. You know, you never know how far we can get with this channel. But hopefully far though, so when we get the right equipment. But anyways, thank you guys for joining. I'm Kyle the Puggy Kyle Lodi, and for Cowboy Nick.
Yeah, Cowboy Nick, Cowboy Nick, Cowboy Nick, dun, 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 dun,
Okay, that was a bit too much. Okay, but anyways, I'll thank you guys for joining, and I will see you guys next time. So, have a good day, and as always, stay safe. Peace!
You've been out all night, I don't know where you've been. You're slurring all your words, not making any sense, but I don't fucking care.